Today we welcome our 7th guest to the My Team series, and it's none other than the handsome Flapjack.
Thank you, John. No, it's really good to be on recording, especially with you. I always enjoy your stuff.
Yeah, it's been, we haven't spoken, we were looking there about a year and a half, but here we are. Based on being, I'm going to call you an FPL expert, you've had some nice finishes.
I have. In the past, I think, last season was okay. I finished about 20k. The one before that, I won't mention. But
Yeah, but 20k is the new 10k, isn't it? The amount of people that are playing these days.
No, as I finished 20k, yeah, I agree.
So who is your starting goalkeeper?
So my starting goalkeeper is Meslier of Leeds. Yeah, I want to go as cheap as possible on goalkeepers. So I think it was between three. It was between him, Sanchez and Raya. I just think Leeds have got the best fixtures.
I actually really like that. I have to say, I just assumed no one was picking him because he had poor fixtures or something. And then maybe when you look and you see Chelsea there in the first three, you go, oh, that's why. But the first 7 fixtures are really, really solid. He made a ton of saves last year, the most in the league, I believe. Do you think Leeds will be that bit more secure at the back? Or do you think they're... I just don't know what the clean sheet potential's like.
It's hard to know, isn't it? Because I guess the argument against it would be obviously Phillips is left, but then they haven't got Bielsa anymore. So I'd imagine the defence is only going to get slightly better. I quite like it. If it's purely the fixtures, I think goalies are a bit of a lottery as well. I just don't want to spend 5.5.
Some people are, and I'm actually debating at my recent draft, but that's for another video. Who is your backup goalkeeper?
So it's Klaassen. So it's the backup for Leeds. That's another reason. It applies to a few teams, but there's a 4 million backup and it doesn't block any other players I want.
Are you afraid in any way, shape or form that in the first week or two, Bamford's on fire and Aronson or someone's proven to be an absolute budget beast? Do you know what I mean? Are you worried or just obviously not?
I could still get one of them. One of them if that happens. In a world where everyone's doubling up on Leeds attack, that would be an odd one. And I guess
you can't put a contingency in for that. If you're worried about shit like that, you're probably playing the wrong game.
Well, exactly. You can only have so many plans, so I'm not going to worry too much. I hadn't thought of it till you said either.
Oh, well, now I've got in your head. I wonder will this see his first game? No, I can't see it happening either. It's just we've had stranger things happen in the world of FPL, but thankfully you'll probably be able to pop the wild card pretty early this season based on the layout. Talk to me about your defence. Who's your most premium asset?
The most premium one, I'd imagine all 20 of us have this, is Trent.
Yeah,
maybe not, but yeah, Trent. I think it almost goes without explanation. I say it in every video, so people are sick of it now. I just think you're mad if you don't have him. I think for me, he's the only absolute nailed 100% has to be in your team. And you've got his shirt behind you as well. So
I'm not biased at all. So Trent, yeah, he kind of doesn't need explanation. Who's next?
So I've actually gone for Robertson. So the Liverpool double up, and it was quite a recent addition. I just think there was a lot of defenders I wanted when I first started drafting a couple of weeks ago. There was 6 or 7 defenders I wanted. So I decided I could go for 2 Liverpool attackers instead. There's been a few concerns over other defenders just in the last week or so. So I think I'm just going to go Robertson. I think I like that.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that I actually infinitely prefer a Robertson over the likes of a Chilwell. And I know it's a million there. It's hard with Cancelo. I really like Cancelo, but these James and I like James. Oh God, I like them all. It's just really hard. I think fitting Robertson in is ideal, and I love it. It just is that whenever we'll see how you fare going up the pitch, or maybe you've got a couple of budget options in defence. I actually haven't looked at your draft, but what I keep finding is because I want 3, 4, 5, 4 or 5 premium kind of defenders, I'm stretched for cash when I get up the pitch, and I think of Robertson almost as a bit of a luxury because Trent's obviously nailed. So I'm kind of going, well, if I make him Perisic, I can make X him this and him that. So he's always the first to go when I'm tinkering. But I'd love to see him.
It is a slippery slope because, like you say, you remove one person, then it causes a chain effect. I was tinkering this morning before I decided on the team. This draft, and you can change. I even considered Van Dijk instead of Robertson. He's 0.5 less. I just prefer Robertson. It's a little bit more fun, but. If you need an extra $500,000, I don't think Van Dijk's awful.
And then, if you need another half, you could just go to Matip. And then why not go all the way, If you're going to Matip, you may as well go to Perisic. Yeah, it just keeps going, doesn't it? But who's your third defender?
So my third is Cancelo.
Okay, brilliant. Again, so you've went pretty big at the back, regardless of what happens from here.
Yeah. I've been pretty locked in on big at the back throughout. I'm on. Well, we haven't got to all my defenders yet, but I'm on 4 premiums basically, and I had been on 5 in all my drafts, but couple of days ago, I was on 5 premium defenders. But yeah, Cancelo, again, it's just another one I couldn't go without. He's also, it seems like he's the most nailed at the moment in the Man City defence. But something that's helped me is there's a bit of risk now about the Spurs wing-backs because Perisic hasn't been playing, because Spencer signed, so you can't go for Doherty. Chilwell had been in all my drafts. I'm just getting a little bit nervous about him because he's not played that much.
Well, your 4th premium, I'm going to guess it's James.
Yeah. I ruled out Chilwell.
Spoiler. Yeah. So Reece James is in. You excited for him?
Yeah, I love him. I mean, a lot of people didn't like him last season because he got a string of 1 points and 0 points. I was very lucky in that regard and got him at, I got all his hauls as well. I think he's incredible. I like Chilwell as well. I honestly do like Chilwell. And if I knew they were both going to play, I'd get both. But James is the one, he stands out for me.
Yeah, he's definitely the more nailed of the two. I mean, everyone's looking at and myself included when I do a bit of digging, the limited pool of data on Chilwell of last season. He comes out on top for a load of stats. The problem is when you have a season where you play that little, you're just nowhere near as nailed. You're nowhere near as surefire an option. And what's not to say he gets re-injured very quickly. Touch wood that none of that happens. But I just think if you're picking one, James is definitely the more secure option.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were more confident in Chilwell because it was assumed that Alonso was leaving, and as far as I know, he's still not left. So while he's not the best player in the world, he can more than cover at left wing back if they play a back 5.
Absolutely. So who are you going at the 4.5 point to enable the rest of this team? So
I've gone for Dunk, who will be my first sub. I love Dunk, and he's normally 5 million. And he's a great asset for that price. Fixtures are okay. He rotates with a couple of other players who we'll get to, in a little bit. But yeah, at the moment it's Dunk. I much prefer him to Tomiyasu, for example. Yeah, Dunk comes out. He is United and West Ham on his first 3, but he's Newcastle in there who are much improved. But after that, from 4 to 7, you've Leeds, Fulham, Leicester, Bournemouth. That's not a bad run. The alternative's Nico, isn't it? Nico Williams, but for 0.5 less. And it seems to be more popular. I just feel a lot better about Dunk coming in than Nico Williams. Yeah, Nico Williams is very much a 1 to 2 pointer, or maybe like an 8 pointer, 10 pointer. But I think like Dunk is just the more consistent. Like he'll get you 4, 5s, and 6s much more regularly through the season. He's probably the type of guy you want coming off the bench. I would speculate anyway. I'll let you sleep a bit easy. Whenever I pull up the projected points on this My Team tool over the next 4 game weeks, Lamptey is projected to score the most, but Dunk is only like 0.3 points behind. Then you've got Tomiyasu, Veltman, Mings, White, Henry, Cedric, and so on and so forth. So like Dunk is right up there. He's above Nico Williams massively. Let's move on to midfield. Who is your first midfield option? Who's your premium guy? So my main man, Salah. He'd be my captain as well. Shock horror. No way. I know. I've not even thought about not having him. Salah doesn't need any more explanation. He is who he is. Who is next? So next, obviously, I've got 3 Liverpool now, so I can't go for Diaz. So I've gone for Foden. Foden in. And are you confident in his game time? I'm more confident than the other players. So I did look at Grealish. Yeah, I like Foden. I think because he's versatile, isn't he? He can play across front 3. Again, linking back in with why I've got Dunk, it's just that bit of cover because, there is risk. Yeah, I'd like to start with Foden. There's a lot of 8 million players I've obviously looked at. It could be Kulusevski, for example, but I don't know. I'm kind of addicted to Man City players. I want to get in as many as possible. Yeah, I think that's what's killing me because in my draft, I'm veering more towards Kane than Haaland. I want Salah over De Bruyne and I don't want to go premium, so I'm kind of looking at Cancelo, and that's why I'm debating getting like an Ederson in. But put your mind at ease in terms of the 8 million mids and the predicted points over the first 4 weeks. Foden does come out top. That man Diaz in second, who you can't quite touch, but Foden is on top of the 8 mils according to this tool. So, and to be honest with you, if I had to pick one, it would be him or Diaz. I couldn't split them personally, and to be fair, this tool can barely split them. But whatever happens against West Ham, if he can get some game time against Bournemouth, you'd expect him to tear it up. Exactly. And I guess because I can't safely pick a second City defender, that's why I'm happy going for Robertson there and then Foden as the mid, instead of going for Diaz and then, I don't know, Laporte or something similar. Because I've removed Chilwell, so I've only got James, there was part of me that was thinking Mount. But then if I'm doing that, it's Chilwell that I really want. So not to go back too much on defenders, but this is why it does, one little change you make has a knock-on effect. Yeah, ripple effect, the butterfly effect. You mentioned Kulusevski. I'd be interested to see, are there any Spurs players in this team? But don't tell me yet. I'm actually trying to get stuff out of you that I shouldn't. Yeah. Who's your next midfielder? So my next midfielder, I'm not over the moon with this one, but I've got Neto. Neto, okay, yeah. The 5.5 guy that everyone's going for. Yeah, I kind of started with him when I was tinkering. Then he's not been there for a while. It's just a good price point. It was between him and Bailey. Bailey's 5 million. He's a great player. It's just Wolves. It's one of these odd ones. You know, sometimes you go for good players in good teams. This one's kind of like a good player in a average team. That's well, that's how they finished the season. That's how they finished last season anyway. Actually, it's probably worse than average.
He'll want to play out of his skin, like, so. Yeah, I like it. Who's next?
So my next two midfielders are basically 4.5. So I've got Andres Pereira, who everyone seems to have.
Yeah.
I think that's a no-brainer at 4.5. He's playing in attacking positions. He's on set pieces. I think he's nailed. Even if he gets 2 points, at least it's some kind of coverage. And I'll have him behind Dunk on my bench most weeks. And then I've gone for De Silva of Brentford as well.
Silva. Yeah, a lot of people are going for him.
Yeah, I don't know how nailed he is. Obviously, Eriksen's left. He's highly rated. I do quite like some of Brentford's fixtures.
I mean, looking at the first 7, Leicester, Fulham, they've Leeds in there, Everton, Palace and Southampton definitely aren't going to be like one-sided fixtures. United, I mean, you'd like to think United would run that one, but at the same time, it's United at the minute. So we'll move up to the front line. Who is your premium striker?
So I've still got Haaland at the moment. So my third Man City. I know there's some concerns the last couple of days about his fitness because he's obviously not been playing much. They might manage him. I'm still going to stick with him for now. But I mean, there's an easy swap to Kane. If we get closer to the deadline and it becomes clear he's not going to play, it becomes quite an easy switch to Kane.
Do you remember if you told me about this season, you didn't have Salah going into the opening game week and he scored a hat-trick? That's what I feel could happen here without Son or Kane. I feel like Spurs could potentially rip you a new one. Are you worried about that? Because obviously the risks around Haaland, I am leaning towards Kane, but I'm interested. I understand why people are going for Haaland. Does the ownership scare you a bit, or what's your thinking?
It does worry me a little bit. But then if I don't go for Haaland and go for Kane or Son, I'm going to have that same issue as well. So I think I'm going to go for Haaland. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go for Haaland. But if there's any kind of risk as we get near the deadline, I honestly, I have no problem just switching to Kane. Like, I love Kane. I'll definitely go for Kane over Son because of the penalties.
Yeah, and that 0.5 saving is nice, you know? Whenever, like, Kane and Son, you'd almost flip a coin for them. I would anyway. And you kind of want that premium forward slot covered just for the price. You can pivot to the Haalands or the Vardys or the Ronaldos of the world if you really wanted to.
It's another good point, actually, John, because if you go for a Spurs asset, you could still go for the wrong one.
Yeah, I don't have a retort to that. The way I kind of look at your team here is you've got Foden, so you've got some sort of cover for Man City if they get a haul, whereas you're screwed if Tottenham win 6-0. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at it, because I know, at least in my draft, I have literally no Man City cover outside Cancelo. Do as I say, not as I do, is maybe the phrase there. But
it's why I've considered Kulusevski, because it would then cover a bit of Spurs. But I know Richarlison's suspended game week 1, so he will play that game.
Yeah.
But then after that, he can be prone to getting subbed off early. You know, going for Kulusevski, you're not really getting Son or Kane. You're just getting a decent asset. He's probably a little bit below Foden, in my eyes, anyway.
That's kind of like by getting Foden, you're not getting De Bruyne or Haaland. You're kind of getting Foden.
That's very true. That's true. No, it's very true.
I'm assuming you're going for an 8 million striker and a 4.5 here.
Nope. I'm playing 4-3-3. So I've got two strikers. I don't know if a lot of people have these, but I like them because they're both 90-minute men and they're both on penalties. So I've got Mitrovic.
Okay.
As the first one. Like I said, 90 minutes.
Tell me about Mitrovic first. He broke all sorts of records. He scored 1 million goals. I think it was the most that's ever been scored in an English season of the length of that one. I forget all the numbers. Was it like 1 million goals in 44 games or something?
It was over 40, and I remember watching a few of them against my team, against Reading. Like he was incredible last season, and I know he starts with Liverpool at home. After that, the next couple of fixtures after that, I quite like. Even Liverpool at home, I don't mind. You know, it's their first game back in the Premiership. Or Premier League, should I say, sorry. He could easily score. We've seen it before. We saw it with Pukki, you know, a couple of seasons ago. He scored, and that was at Anfield, though. This is at the Cottage. So, yeah, I really like Mitrovic. And they priced a lot of the strikers. I think they're quite expensive and quite overpriced. So you almost have to rely, I feel like, on the promoted strikers. I mean, that's exactly what happened last year. You know, Tony, Pukki, and then Dennis and King, potentially. They were the value in strikers.
Yeah.
I feel like they've done the same again this year. You know, players like Tony have been given a price hike. Bamford obviously had a price hike when he came in at 5.5 2 years ago. So, yeah, that's why I've gone for Mitrovic as the first cheap striker.
When I look at him, like, don't get me wrong, I think Wolves and Brentford are fine and there's Brighton, but in the first 7 you've got Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal and Liverpool, so good luck. But I suppose you don't really care about, like, for this you're just hoping they can lose 7-2 or 7-1 and he gets a goal. You don't really give a shit if they get trounced. He just needs to kind of be the guy that gets the one goal they score in any of those games. And he probably will be based on the law of averages. I
mean, at least, like I said, the Liverpool game's at home, then it's Wolves, I quite like that. Brentford at home, I like that. I mean, yeah, Arsenal away is not ideal. I still kind of like it. And it's the 90 minutes and penalties. It means I could take some risks with players like Foden. I mean, if he just gets 2 points every week, so be it. But Fulham are going to score some goals.
Okay, well, we'll see how that one pans out. I like it. Who is your last slot going to be filled by? You have 6 million left.
Solanke is my last one.
Solanke it is.
Again, they've got slightly better fixtures than Fulham. Slightly better fixtures.
Slightly. I mean, like Villa, City, Arsenal, Liverpool, and then it maybe opens up Wolves, Forest, Brighton, but...
This is where Dunk comes in. And there might be a better defender at 4.5, but Dunk can play. I think, especially with Solanke, there's a couple of fixtures. Is it game week 2 and game week 4? He's got quite bad fixtures. Solanke.
Yeah, he's got City and Liverpool and those, and then Arsenal between them.
I think Dunk covers at least one of those. Obviously, I've got the 2 4.5 defender, so it covers game week 4. I mean, I'm probably gonna have to play around with the rotation a bit. I mean, honestly, these 90-minute men that run penalties, a player I've not mentioned in midfield was James Ward-Prowse. Again, 90 minutes and penalties. Their fixtures aren't great, but they're going to play and they could just score a penalty. Yeah, it's very boring, I know.
Or Ward-Prowse could ping one in from 40 yards. So we've built your team. This is your team. We're going to hit the save plan button here. It's going to generate your team, and we're going to see what your team rating and predicted points are. So 94%, 64.9 predicted points. How does that make you feel, Flapjack?
I think I'm pretty happy with that. I was wondering if it was going to really hate a couple of those picks, like Solanke, for example. But it seems that's pretty good, isn't it? Over 90% or not? You're going to tell me no?
No, that is pretty good. That is absolutely pretty good. The thing here you need to remember is the team rating actually takes a few game weeks into account, and it weights nearer game weeks heavier. So if you're projected to score a lot of points this week, that's great. If you're projected to score loads of points next week, that's great as well. And the further you get away, the less it matters. The predicted points is just for game week 1. I thought Solanke and Mitrovic and even Neto would let this side down, but maybe you're projected to do okay over the coming game weeks because you have a few nice fixtures in game week 2. So 94% rating, you'll be glad to hear, has put you in joint second place with FPL Salah. But whenever we have 2 people on joint, we go to predicted points as the tiebreaker. Salah was predicted to get 62 points. You're predicted to get 64.9. So this puts you in second out of 7. So I think this is a great start. This is, you're not going to win, but you could still cling on to a podium place. Look, Flapjack, thanks a million for joining me. And people can check you out on social media. And if people enjoyed this, subscribe to the channel and like the video. And there'll be another 12 episodes in this series.